What is up, guys? Wraec is here with new video, and today I won the IDA championship for the third time, really, which isn't too much compared to somebody like Daiko from my guild. I've got it like, I guess like 10, 15 times, something like that. I have no idea. Quite a lot. You can already see I won against Gore here with Quake in the group, Hyde in the group, Darth Maul, a lot of strong people actually. And, well, I once again ran my CC team. The one that I showed in some videos already. Actually, the CC team didn't have to fight too much. Like, I think against half of the opponents that I faced, my first team here with the SATD that you saw in yesterday's video as well actually won, which was quite fun. But we are running this, basically this is my main team. TBB with our core, Starwing Juror for some nice CC, good CC combo here. And I did some changes to that. We're still running SQH, MFF and LFA, but we're now running Feruc Investor instead of HHA. Why? Mainly because I figured, well, we don't really get attacked when we CC the enemy, so HHA doesn't really do too much to help us. He's still homeowner, just because the tenant situation is so that I can't really get a lot of profit from removing his tenants. But Feruc Investor can actually heal us while the enemy is CC'd, so I figured that would help. And it did in some fights, so I think we're just going to hop in some main team fights, going to watch that. That is actually the first fight that we see here against the DTV comp with the Drake from Gore, so pretty tanky team that we saw in some seasons before, succeeding and doing quite well. Now with the CC team's a bit more established with TBB in the game and people learning how TBB actually works, those teams, I feel like, no longer do that well on Android. On iOS, I hear they are still quite meta. But you can see, like, we got the early CC here, and even with PDE, we're using a speed gap between our fast CC heroes and then our slower heroes to actually make the enemy unable to attack at all. In most situations, that works pretty well. There can be some situations where, like, when my Starwing Jara attacks an enemy DTV, instantly get his CC removed by PDE, and then he actually can attack, like there. But oftentimes, yeah, you just get hit with the basic and doesn't really do a whole lot. So pretty solid win here, I would say, just concluding the fight here. And we can see TBB actually does a lot of damage. I'm quite surprised, but she really can do a lot of damage. And we can see it here. She doesn't even have a high tier copy. That's a B tier copy. That's a copy I bought for, I think, under 400 starry gems. And I mainly bought it because it has a good roll. It is control, precision, CI offset, 2 stats obviously because it's a B tier, and no particularly good stats for a B tier. So it's like, it's your standard B tier that you can get for pretty low amounts of starry gems. Obviously our train gives us some advantage here. But that's really it. So pretty solid win here. Still GG to Gore, a good guildmate, and I think he also won more IDA championships than I did. So that's an ongoing theme. But a nice example for the TBB burst. You can see, no, not in this fight, in my fight against Quake. That actually had me quite surprised. You will see in a second, because it's really quite insane. There we have the Starwing Jara, and now you can see all the health values here going down. And that is actually the core that just hit him. The second hit was from the core. So, yeah. Oh no, second hit was also the active skill. The core was in there, sorry. I was confused about that. She has 2 active skills in a row when she does an active skill with full energy and didn't do the passive skill, active skill from a passive 2 on that turn, which is a bit confusing. But you can see, like, the damage she did. And if we take a small look at her stats right now, it should be pretty similar. Where is she actually? Oh yeah, because she's a B tier, she's down there. 21 million attack. Well, it certainly isn't a very low amount. That is also not that insane. Like the B tier, it is a solid B tier. I think I soul perfected it. Oh no, I didn't even. Like, it has 3 more. Okay. Didn't even do that. We put soul power on her though for IDA, so that obviously helped. We got the control immunity, offset, control precision, and really that's I think a 400 starry gems copy. Pretty good B tier. Like, nothing insane. For the other fights, I think we're going to look at the fights of the Omega Project people this time. And we're going to start off in Group 1, Note 4 versus Skittle. Quite interesting. Note 4, I saw he has a Divine Power 7 TBB, Divine Power 7 DTV. Both very potent PvP heroes, and I think he's pretty PvP orientated, so like all of his resources go pretty much towards PvP, which makes it all the better that he won IDA Championship with strong people in the group like Skittle, High Five, and Kenneth. So, and even Jiffy, nice. So that's pretty good. And let's see what his team could do. I think the main team here, well, that's this one with the Panda still interesting. Usually no longer really see that. Like, I mean, I get why it's like for those longer fights against the DTV teams, this is quite good, but like Panda takes away your opportunity to put PD in the team. And if you imagine that team fighting against mine, that would have been quite disastrous. Because, like, well, if you don't have a PD, you don't remove any CC fast enough. Yeah, we will see it in a second. I mean, like, I assume we won't see any attacks from Skittle in this fight. Because, yeah, full CC by TVB every single round. And during the round, obviously, no chance to break out. Though, I have to say, the DTV here from Note 4 hits like a truck. That's insane. It's really quite insane, yeah. And as expected, like not running PDE, it's not something I would advise, especially if you want to do sustain, if you want to survive. Though I think it's quite hard. Like from the Android side, if I talk about PvP, I always talk about the Android meta. I think it's quite hard to make your team survive because even with like a low attack Starwing Jara, I do have quite an easy time punching through sustain teams. And that works pretty well. And if you then go and build like a Divine Power 7 TBB, that can be quite insane. You can see like he has a B+ copy, did a whole lot of damage. Though I have to say, I'm always a bit surprised. Like in some fights, we saw those Divine Power 7 TBBs this time. And they never really did the amount of damage that I would have expected from them. Because that is pretty similar to what mine did. And even from strong players, I didn't really see that much damage, though, obviously, in this situation. I think the star of the show was really the DTV as well, which brought the fight to a quick end, while the TBB made it pretty much impossible for him to attack at all. So, in that sense, I think you really need the PDE now to fight those CC teams. They are in the meta, and you can't really allow yourself to ignore them, I think. So that's a thing. Then we have Group 5, which was the other OP final fight. It says Core here for Quadzilla, but Quadzilla actually joined Omega Project, so it's OP Quadzilla versus OP Camelec. Pretty cool fight. They were talking in the Discord before, and that was quite funny. We have a BQA here, we have an SFX. Together with Wraec, which is a combination that I ran as well, I put an LFA in the team, which Quadzilla decided not to. He has HHA upgraded. He has a Ferrocune Vessel upgraded, which is quite fancy, I think. And I, by the way, I really have to make a video about Ferrocune Vessel because there were some things I was thinking about yesterday, and I kind of want to tell you guys about that. We have PDE here to make this more solid against CC teams, and I think it's a very fast, very bursty team that he built here with some sustain, though. With some sustain, but it will be quite interesting to see. Camelec, on the other hand, more of the sustain teams here. We have a TBB, Divine Power 3. So also some CC in there. And I think this is quite an interesting combination because that's something that I thought about as well. Like, if you run into a CC team like mine, this TBB won't likely be fast enough to do anything. But if you run into another CC team, for example, let's say he fought Skittle's team, then this TBB will be absolutely insane, will be godly. Because it will just CC him all the time, and when you fight a sustain team, well, you still have enough sustain. I think you can allow yourself that slot with the TBB, even in a sustain fight. So that's kind of interesting. Running the DGN core, which is quite a good core, especially against fast teams because you can bring the speed down a little bit. Soul Power makes that a bit more difficult, but still it is a good core. I'm eager to see that. Let's just hop into that fight. I imagine it will be quite interesting. I imagine it will be quite interesting. I always have a hard time spotting like the real teams here. So we're looking at that because he had some homeowners there, homeowner DTV, homeowner MFF. So let's see that. Solid win by Quadzilla as far as I could see it. But still will be interesting. We also still have Daiko versus Norman, and we have Jesus Team. Got the taunt there on the DTV, which is in general a bit hard to avoid, but it's good that he didn't get the taunt on the TBB, and that's something that you can see, by the way. At TBB without her core, in my experience, often doesn't get full CCs. The reason for that is that her control preg is reduced with every single hero that she targets. She basically targets every single hero individually, and then her control preg reduces with every further hero, so that on the 6th hero, control precision is pretty low. So if you don't run a Rui, then without the core you will have a hard time to CC. The core basically makes it a full CC every single time, in my experience. There's hardly the time where you don't get a CC when you run the core, but you decided to run DGN core, and now obviously we get at least one pick per turn from this SFX. It is now probably going to kill off the HHA here, because that now has defense down. Oh! Slight switch here in the lowest life. That HHA just did a ton of damage. Okay, I have to see the damage numbers for that HHA, because that just looked like this HHA did a ton. Interesting. Now we have defense down on both heroes here, which is a consequence of the defense down actually switching. And yeah, 2 takedowns there. And now would be the last chance basically for... Okay, that's gone. It was a bit too late. Turn 4. With those SFX teams, you're always playing a bit of a time game, because you want to get an early on... you want to get early on kills. You have to get enough kills so that when you enter the realm of like turn 5, turn 6, then DTV has to be dead. Because otherwise he's going to get a weakness disclosure and he's going to burst down your entire team. And here we see something interesting. BQA highest damage. And that's something that is, well, not really surprising to me, because her Destiny transition isn't bad at all. Like, she is really interesting. I think her Destiny transition is one of the more interesting ones. And I'm eager to see what she can do. And this is like the first peek in that direction, because I basically nobody upgrades her. She's an tenant for any of the meta heroes. She isn't a very good tenant, even if she is a tenant. So most of the time people ignore her, and seeing her here in a PvP situation, that might indicate that in the future we might see a bit more of her. So pretty interesting, I like it, and as expected, HHA with some huge damage here. You could see it in the middle of the fight, quite interesting. And you would expect the SFX to be the main damage dealer here, and she by no means is. She's outdamaged by BQA and HHA. I think after this video I will have to watch this fight 1 or 2 times more, because it's definitely one of the more interesting ones, and I'm happy to see such a team like Quadzilla's, which is a very nice change from the recent meta. It's not that I stopped those videos. I like delayed some of those videos a bit because I was bored of those DTV metas, and now we're seeing more creative teams. We're seeing other teams, and this is really cool. This is really cool. Group 7, Norman versus Daiko, second to last fight that we are going to watch. Norman, obviously, absolutely huge. Look at this account. S carry. I don't even know why, but it's insane. He got the S Starwing Jar, built a little bit of a similar team to mine. He's still running Drake though. He has an HHA and a DGN. Well, in that regard, it's not really that similar. He's just using the TBB plus Starwing Jar combo, and obviously has the LFA in there, which a lot of people now have, because, well, you kind of built him for SE and then you want to make use of him. He has a Divine Power 7 S tier DTV, which makes me very jealous actually. Because, yeah, that's an insane hero to clear campaign with. Pretty good account. Great account, actually. And then we have Daiko. Daiko, as I said, won a ton of IDA championships before. Still running with the Star Alchemist Holmes young team. And I remember him being as bold as just setting one single team to fight. And he was actually successful. I think 2 or 3 times in a row. I was calling him out on that. It's a good fun. Let's see what we are going to see in those fights. Obviously, first things first, we have this secondary team of Norman here. Probably not even getting a kill, but that's the risk of running LDA. His LDA probably killed himself here. At least he's assisting the enemy in killing him off because, well, he's dealing damage to himself. And in such situations, you can lose a hero, LDA in this sense, to teams before that. And that hurts you in the long game because, well, you're running now with a 5 versus 6 into the main fight. And this LDA could have helped because it negates heal, which obviously makes the dot of Star Icon and Stormsiang stronger. We're not going to watch this, we're going to watch this. But I think, like, that's the problem with LDA. You just don't get him back. He kills himself off in an earlier fight, and then you sit there and you don't really have anything. Oh, yeah, okay, we got huge TBB burst there. Yeah, it's a bit difficult. Like, if you don't really have the biggest train and run into a TBB team, well, they can quickly take out your heroes that are running energy artifacts. In this case, Daiko's Star Icon Stormsiang was running a mirror, and yeah, quickly end the fight like this. So pretty much overwhelming advantage here by Norman. Getting the quick kill. Daiko, a bit unfortunate with the LDA being dead early on. The question is, would have changed something? Daiko's no longer running Ferrokin Vessel, which was stable in the teams like this before, because, well, what you could do was you ran LDA killed himself, Ferrokin Vessel CC'd the entire enemy team, you wouldn't get hit by Actors on this turn. Which, by the way, little side fact, isn't too true anymore, because TBB actually can do her passive too, which also triggers her active skill, even while she's silenced. So that's another thing. Solid win by Norman, can't say anything. It's just a big advantage of having a bigger train, bigger heroes, and, well, I think his team in a usual situation would have had an advantage. Jesus is here versus Lord Scorpion. Jesus is here, in his own words, didn't properly set up his team. he has this LFA with huge soul power on him, and that was basically his tactic, having a big LFA, it seems, which, I mean, as you will see in a second, worked. On a first glance, you would think that this is like really the same. I think this is the main team. SSQH, insane, very nice. I'm a bit jealous. Like, I don't really have SSQH or SMF anymore. It's probably very nice in Star Expedition. And then we have a DTV here, Divine Power 4 and Divine Power 6 PDE, going for that LFA, probably. Pretty Star Expedition focused account. Little side note here, PDE is not the optimal tenant for LFA anymore. If you're looking into Divine Power at 1 ATD actually surpasses her, which is why I switched to ATD on that. Got an emblem here as well. Everybody has an emblem but me. Kind of weird. I think we are going to watch another fight, because this one will be pretty close. And the other fight that I want to watch is actually Theo versus Jesus. Theo obviously being Soul, and Theo had a very strong team. And it was like the clash of soul power, which is like one of the best fights, I think, here. Got this, we saw the super fast LFA. Got the mirror on there. Got 5 mirrors on their team. Bloody hell, that guy went for mirrors. And the DTV actually on Slow Scorpion's team is running a crown. So that it was turn 1 crown on the DTV, and Jesus LFA nearly one-shot him. Which is, by the way, because it has, I think, 77 million attack. Yeah, 77 million attack. And Jesus didn't even max the soul power yet. So, yeah, on that note, quite insane. I think we're going to see a pretty huge active here. Sad. Die to the pinks. Die to the pinks. I would have loved to see like the overkill active that hit the entire team. That would have been fun. But maybe we're going to get to see that. I mean, like the MFF doesn't really have a shield. Might be vulnerable to a big active from his LFA. DGN doing a lot of work here, actually. She died, but there was no big active. That's sad. That's sad. Would have loved to see the 77 million attack LFA really hitting the entire team. I think we can skip that. It's like 2 heroes there. It's not really worth watching in the end. 2 damage dealers. I think he could take this team and just run campaign with it. It's like pretty potent team to clear void campaign, which, well, he already did, so it's not really a point in that. Let's go back to Group 9. Last fight till we end this video. Theo versus Jesus is here. We see the Divine Power 6A plus TBB, max soul power. Theo, I think, is one of the guys with the most soul power right now. But I think he acquired most of it after he set his team for IDA, which is quite unfortunate, but also might mean that in the next season we will see some huge things. And this is, by the way, the biggest vulnerability of CC teams right now. Just having somebody in that has a lot of soul power as an opponent. Because, well, this LFA is now faster than this CC team. The CC team obviously doing its best to be faster than the enemy, but it's just not possible unless you have really huge copies, and you can't have bigger copies than Jesus SSS LFA. That is just not possible. So yes, like, you can put 550 speed or something on this copy, and you will have no chance to outspeed it. Which was the downfall of Theo here, really. He got a kill on the DTV in a situation like Ace Championship. That could have been disastrous, reducing Jesus' team on this LFA, but then in that sense, well, you are not reducing it that much because this LFA is insane. That being said, great season. Happy that I could win again. 3rd IDA Championship. Which one was your favorite fight here? Do you like the new meta with the CC teams? Which team do you think was best? Which was the best fight? Write all of that down in the comments. Until then, I wish you a great day. We'll see us in the next one.